Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday edition of Light Sports Ramble. This is the episode that we call the Light Rant, where Evan, me and Evan. I'm telling
me, myself, and I. The crazy lady getting to you, too?
She's been getting to me all morning, but I am Troy Otradovic, joined with Evan Witallison, and on Saturday, Evan, this is where you're running the red light. This is where I'm burning rubber at the red light. And so let's just make fun of Troy. Did you see my tweeting this morning? I went to tweet out the red light rant. And so then I forgot to put the time on. Then I forgot to put Eastern time. This crazy lady has been getting to me since early this morning. Or I can just blame it on a lack of coffee. I don't know. Whatever you want to blame it on. But after I did that, I put Twitter away and I turned on NFL Network, and there it was. Packers Steelers Super Bowl, Evan. I was watching it this morning. What were you up to?
I was watching the same thing. I got into the game a little late. It was into the third quarter when I turned it on. But, yeah, I was watching it as well, and it was fun watching, and it was quite it really made me miss Desmond Bishop, Colin Jenkins, and Nick Collins patrolling that Packer defense because, you know, they've been missing Colin Jenkins' nastiness on the D-line. They've been missing Desmond Bishop's nastiness at linebacker. You know, I'm going to punch you in the mouth and you're going to take it type attitude that they had. And just how good Nick Collins was patrolling the middle of the field, you know, patrolling deep center field and coming up, making tackles by the line of scrimmage. They've been missing that quite a bit. So I just really miss seeing those three in the game.
I'll tell you, the thing I was watching, actually, I watched it pretty much from the beginning, Evan. And you're absolutely right. That defense, even when they got beat, they pursued the ball and they hit hard. Something I didn't see this year. But you're absolutely right. I really miss Nick Collins. And I said this after the Super Bowl, and I believe I shared it on a ramble a few times. The biggest loss after that Super Bowl win was Colin Jenkins. We let him go away. Now, I understand the business side. It was the money and all that. Whatever people want to say, it was purely money. But that was our biggest loss after that Super Bowl in my mind, letting Jenkins get away. But on the business side, I mean, it's something we had to do. I understand that. But also Desmond Bishop, I mean, I haven't really watched him play too much, you know. And I watched that
He's wearing
Super Bowl.
purple.
I'm like, man, he really did a lot for that linebacking core because the one thing, and you said this, and I agreed with you. We were talking about the grades of the linebackers this year, and we were talking about Clay Matthews. There was 2 times Mendenhall broke it outside, and guess who didn't have I'm telling you, Evan, gap containment. Guess who didn't have the gap?
Clay.
He over-pursued down in the middle, and that's how Mendenhall broke it outside because he was too worried about getting into the pocket.
Yeah, Moore did the same thing. They had him bottled up in the middle, and then he just, right outside. Moore.
So, but the thing is, though, you look at that defense could overcome that. Defense this year couldn't because the big key clog there, well, 2 of them, that's Bishop and Collins. That containment, when it got broke outside, it resulted in a 12, 18-yard run. This year it was resulting in 30, 40-yard run? Because on that Super Bowl, you had a Nick Collins, you had a Desmond Bishop who could pursue and limit the damage. And so it wasn't apparent on that Super Bowl run that we weren't containing the outside. This year, very obvious because we don't have any play in the middle. So it was kind of fun to watch it, you know, going through it and seeing. I'll tell you what, my God, we talk about how good Aaron Rodgers played. Now that I sat back, knew what was going to happen, I was still in awe at some of those throws. How did he do that? I mean, he had it that day for sure. What else did you get from rewatching it?
Well, he had it that day, but he also missed a lot of passes too. Like he had one behind Corliss, and Corliss was, if you would have put it in front of him, Corliss would have had a huge gain. And then Jordy Nelson, that was his breakout game, but people forget he had a couple huge drops in that game.
He did.
James Jones also had a third down catch too.
Yeah, James Jones had a big drop there too. He would have had a touchdown. Right in the bread basket, and he dropped it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was still a good game to rewatch. I had fun doing it. But that's not what we're ranting about today, Evan. I know we've talked all week, and it got thrown out there actually on Twitter for us. And it was
actually on the show. It was on Monday's show. It got thrown out there.
Yeah. And so it was talked about on national media Monday and Tuesday, early after the Super Bowl. We decided to bring it to Saturday because we thought it would be a great rant topic. And that's how did the debacle of Peyton Manning's loss affect his legacy? And so I'm going to let you lead off. We kind of know where each other's going with this, as we talked about it a little bit before the show. But let's let the listeners know how we feel this loss affected Peyton Manning's legacy.
For me, to be perfectly honest, I don't think it hurt his legacy whatsoever. I think it actually cemented his legacy for what it is. And if you look at Peyton Manning, regular season career, 167 and 73, 64,000 yards passing, just shy under 65. 491 touchdown passes to just 219 interceptions. You look at those numbers, you're like, wow, a 97.2 career quarterback rating. And you look at those numbers, it's like, wow, this quarterback is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And that wasn't hurt in his playoff in the Super Bowl. That was not hurt because Peyton Manning is and has been one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks I've ever seen play. His playoff legacy-wise, though, he's always been a quarterback that falls short in the playoffs or in clutch situations. In 1999, his second year in the league, he went 0-1 in the playoffs. 2000, 0-1. 2002, 0-1. 2003, he actually won 2 games that year, but then he lost in the AFC Championship game to the Patriots. 2004, 1-1, again losing to the Patriots. 2005, 0-1. 2006, he actually won 4-0 and made the Super Bowl and won it. 2007, 0-1. 2008, 0-1. 2009, 2-1. 2010, 0-1. 2012, 0-1. 2013, 2-1. That's him in the playoffs every year since he was a starter. So he has gone winless in the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times between 1998 and 2013. He has gone winless 7 times. He's made the Super Bowl 3 times. So you look at his playoff career, he's never been a great playoff quarterback. And then the caller that we had on Monday that kind of opened up this topic, he brought up against Florida. Against Florida when he was in college at Tennessee, that was the reason why he never won a national championship in college. He could not get past Florida. He couldn't win the big games in college, and that's carried over to the NFL. So did it hurt his legacy? No. It actually cemented what his legacy actually is, in my opinion.
I'm on board with you, bud. You know where I'm going with this. No matter what happened before that Super Bowl, I already had my thoughts of Peyton Manning. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, regular season quarterback in NFL history. And you have the numbers. He's going to, if he comes back, which I'm assuming he will. I mean, he looks healthy, look like he can still play. He's going to break Favre's records. And I saw an interview with Favre.
He already did, and he broke a lot of them already in some categories.
Yeah, I'm talking about
including playoff losses.
Yeah, I'm talking about yardage and touchdowns. And Favre said he'd be honored if Peyton Manning did it, blah, blah, whatever it is. My point is, very good at winning the regular season games when he's going through the 16-game schedule, taking care of business. But even before Sunday and the Super Bowl, I already had my opinion of Peyton Manning. He's a guy that just can't get it done in the playoffs. And even if he would have won, I still would have thought the same way based on history. I know you talked about it, and I'm probably coming into it a little bit early because we can talk a little bit more about Peyton Manning. But I really get, and this is the episode to do it, I really get heated when people talk about, oh, he won a Super Bowl. Well, that's great. That does not make him a great quarterback. If somebody wins one Super Bowl, does not make them a great quarterback, that, in my opinion, because a lot of things have to happen to win Super Bowls. Now, can you be both? Can you be great and win a Super Bowl? Yes. But when you look at pure quarterback regular season, Peyton Manning is one of the greatest to play quarterback in the regular season. He just can't get it done in the playoffs. The records are there to prove it. What is his record? 11-13 in the playoffs, Evan? You have it right there.
Something like that. Well, unfortunately, it didn't add up the total, like how many, the grand total. This is just each season for the playoffs, but I'm sure I could figure it out if you give me a second. So he's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 playoff games to winning 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 and 12.
11 and 12 in the playoffs. So that's a subpar quarterback in the playoffs. And that's how I view him.
Yeah.
Had he won the Super Bowl, you would have then had, done a 12 and 11? Still, around a 500 quarterback in the playoffs. That's how I would do it. Now, again, I'm just the idiot with an opinion. But when I look at Peyton Manning, the guy has done everything like we've talked about, puts up numbers. And isn't today's world all based on stats? Isn't that what we base everything on, stats and winning? And so if you look at that,
seems that way.
Because when you look at the Hall of Fame, it's all based on stats usually.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that is a totally different conversation Tuesday when Alicia joins us again about Jerry Kramer not being in the Hall of Fame. Hard to put stats on a tackle. But I'm going to talk on Tuesday. I already have some stuff prepared about the way that the voting goes today in the NFL is based on stats. So you look at the stats, Manning is great. He's 1 and 2 in the Super Bowl. He's not a good playoff quarterback. So what else do you have to add about Mr. Manning's legacy?
I think that's about it. I did put the question out on Twitter that you had asked. Did the Super Bowl hurt Manning's legacy? Or the one we threw out there, and does winning the Super Bowl make you a great quarterback? And I put Colin. It'd be interesting to see if we do get any calls this morning on Twitter. But no, I don't think that. I don't really have anything else to add, really. And I guess the argument that can also be talked about then too: do you have to win a Super Bowl to be considered a great quarterback? Because people throw around how Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, and they bring up, is he actually one of the greatest quarterbacks in history because he's never won a Super Bowl? And by that argument, does that mean Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson are better quarterbacks than Dan Marino?
Well, that's Evan, you bring up a really good point. And again, I go back to the early days of the Ramble when I did my 5 to 10 minute ramble, and I had actually discussed this before training camp opened. And I had the exact same argument. Trent Dilfer is by no means a great quarterback. He'll even tell you he's not a great quarterback. The pieces fell into place on that team with a great defense. He went to the Super Bowl, and he didn't lose the Super Bowl. Brad Johnson, the same thing. So are those two quarterbacks great quarterbacks, and you put them ahead of Dan Marino? Because you can't be hypocritical about how you're going to view this, folks. If you're going to say it takes a Super Bowl to be great, then you're telling me Dan Marino was not a great quarterback. And I will disagree with you till the day I die. Dan Marino was a great quarterback. He just couldn't get it done in the playoffs. He went to a Super Bowl, but the thing is, that team, too, he played on teams that could barely get to the playoffs some years.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't get it done in the playoffs. He's still a great quarterback.
Yeah, it goes back to what you just said. It depends on, certain things have to go right. It goes back to what you had just said there, and, sometimes things didn't go right. He didn't have the personnel around him to push him over the hump to get him there, because in 86, he went 8-8 as a starter. In 87, he went 7-5. In 88, he won 6-10. In 89, he won 8-8. And he put up some great numbers those years too. And then his last year in the league, he went 5-6, and he put up not that great of numbers, but that was at 38 years old. But even in the seasons where they didn't make the playoffs, he put up some really solid numbers. So it's like you said, things have to fall in the right place in order to get there.
Yeah, and then the conversation comes about the elite quarterbacks. And I'll throw this out to you because I'm not even sure you and I have ever discussed this, so we'll throw it out now about elite quarterbacks. And my definition of elite is somebody that makes players around them better to be able to win football games. That's, to me, what an elite quarterback is, somebody that can do that. And so when I look at Super Bowl wins, that does not make you an elite quarterback in my book. Now, again, it's my book. It's Troy's book of elite. Do you make players better around you? So based on what I'm saying, I just said Dan Marino's a great quarterback. Put him in the elite because I don't think he made the players around him better, but we could argue that with Duper and Clayton. They were good receivers, but Marino made them good. The problem with Marino is that he never had a running game. Never, ever had a running game there. He had to throw the ball how many times a game? So the argument can be made there. I mean, we could argue this. I think he's a great quarterback. I probably wouldn't have pushed him above into the elite category even, but I think he's a great quarterback. But I want to go back to your point, and this is the rant. Let's talk about it. Super Bowl quarterbacks that win. You know, you talked about it a little bit. How do you feel about that, Evan? By winning the Super Bowl, does that put you into the category of greatness? What do you think?
I don't think it does because I bring up the names I just brought up again. You look at guys like, you know, Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson. They were in good situations there. And Jim McMahon, he was in the 85 Bears team. He was in a good situation. I wouldn't call Jim McMahon, Brad, I'm going to piss off a lot of Bear fans there because Bear fans think of Jim McMahon as a god. But, you know, I wouldn't put him as elite. I wouldn't put Brad Johnson as elite. And, yeah, he had a number of solid years, but he was never anything special. He played with some great defenses in Tampa Bay, and Trent Dilfer played with probably the greatest defense in NFL history with that Ravens defense. So, no, just because you won a Super Bowl, it doesn't put you into that greatness class. You know, it takes a while to get there. And
I'll throw another name out there for you, Joe Flacco. I think he's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. You know, you throw that out there, and you know, maybe it's the passion in the fans because it's their team, and you win the Super Bowl, so that makes you great. But I'm even, right now, I like Russell Wilson. You and I both like the Wisconsin guy, right? We like the kid.
Yeah.
I think he's a very good quarterback. By winning Sunday, does that all of a sudden make him great and make him elite? No, not in my book. He's not a great quarterback right now. Now, he's got a lot of time to prove me wrong, and he probably will. The way he plays, he could become a great quarterback. But just because he won in his second year, you know, the jury is still out on him. We don't know what's going to happen in years 3, 4, and 5. A lot of things went well for Seattle this year. And again, it goes back to defense wins championships. Did Russell Wilson play good? Yeah, he played good. But I don't think he was the reason the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. And so I don't put him into the great category yet. So I may piss off a lot of people saying that too, Evan, but that's how I feel. What do you think about that? Russell Wilson just won the Super Bowl. Does that make him a great quarterback right now?
No, I don't think it does at all. Because if you look at the Super Bowl, he was nothing more than a game, and they didn't need him to be anything more than a game manager, but he was nothing more than a game manager in the Super Bowl. He made a couple big throws that extended drives, like that big, you know, that deep pass to Baldwin. And then his touchdown passes that he threw, those were, the receivers should have been tackled at least 5 or 6 times. Those are like great plays for wide receivers and horrible tackling by Denver, which, stop me if you've heard that one before, Packer fans. Horrible tackling. But that took some great plays by those receivers to get it into those end zones. But he did make a couple big throws, especially, like I said, the one to Baldwin, where Baldwin just burned Champ Bailey. But just winning one Super Bowl, he doesn't make him a great quarterback. It doesn't even, I don't even think it puts him in the elite quarterback class yet. Now we'll see how he does in year 3 if he continues to go down the road that he is, and he's going down the road that's going to lead him to greatness and lead him to becoming in that elite class with Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rodgers. He's working on getting there, but he's not there yet. We need to see a larger sample size. I know there's one guy on Twitter who's going to greatly disagree with me. I normally enjoy all of his tweets except when he starts going in on the Seahawks, because that way he starts driving me crazy. But I wouldn't put him in that great category yet.
Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. So this is going to bring up a huge debate when our listeners listen to the rant. And so for those listening, tweet it out. What are your thoughts? And I know Evan put the question out there. Does it make you great when you win a Super Bowl? Evan and I both say no. It doesn't make you great. A lot of things need to fall into place. There's some quarterbacks that single-handedly led their team to Super Bowl victories because of quarterback play. They needed the quarterback play because they didn't have the great defense. They didn't have all the great weapons. Those are the defining moments of being a great quarterback. Even to me, Evan, getting to the Super Bowl does not warrant you to be great. I mean, we talk about Dan Marino got there. That's not where I consider him great. I'm looking at what he did in the body of work because the pieces didn't fall into place. But the year they went to the Super Bowl, he basically had to bring them to the Super Bowl. So then, yes, that made him great. It sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but I think you know where I'm going with this. There are some quarterbacks that can be in a system, and I don't even want to call them game managers. I just want to call them adequate quarterbacks that protect the ball, know the system, and do enough to help the team win. And that's what Russell Wilson did this way. Like you said, he made a few throws in the Super Bowl, played good. But he's not the reason that team went through the playoffs and got to the Super Bowl. He rode the tails of that defense, which is great. He didn't screw it up. And so, again, too, I'm not saying Russell Wilson is a bad quarterback. I think he's a very good quarterback. But I want people to understand, and I think I can talk for you when I say this. We are saying that quarterbacks in certain situations can just do enough to win based on all the pieces around them. And they shouldn't be considered great for winning if that's the way they're doing it. Does that kind of sum it up, Evan?
I think it does. I think it sums it up exactly. And we have 7 minutes left. So any other topics you want to discuss for a bit for the last 7 minutes of the show? Putting the ball in your court.
Well, I saw a tweet the other day, and I haven't had a chance to research it, but I saw that Ron Zook is now going to join the Packers coaching staff. Do you have any more in-depth details about that?
Yeah, Packers signed Ron Zook to be their special teams assistant, which kind of makes you wonder why special teams assistant, because he's a former college football head coach. He's been a defensive coordinator at the NFL level. He was actually the defensive coordinator for the Saints when Mike McCarthy was the offensive coordinator of the Saints. That would have been right after McCarthy finished up in Green Bay in '99. But an interesting question was raised on the Chuck and Wickett show in the morning on Friday morning on 1250 WSSP. It was Chuck Freeman and Tim Allen filling in for the other host. And they were bringing up, basically, could this be, because Capers is starting to get up there a little bit in age. Zook is 58, so it's no guarantee that this will be the case, but it's being brought up. If Capers leaves after this coming season, Zook being familiar with the 3-4 defense that Tom Capers likes running, if Capers retires or leaves after the season, does Ron Zook then get promoted to defensive coordinator? Are they just holding him on the staff until that position opens up? That's an interesting question there. But I am very curious on it. He's also done special teams around the league as well, but it's just very, very strange signing, seeing a guy with his pedigree, not a great head coach, but an experienced assistant, becoming an assistant special teams coach, which is usually the job you take when you're first climbing that ladder.
Oh, I think you nailed it on the head for my thought. I think that is exactly what happened here, is that Mike McCarthy or Ted Thompson or whoever saw Zook out there, liked what he did and the relationship with McCarthy. This is totally setting up that eventually we're seeing Ron Zook as a defensive coordinator. I don't think anything different of it, because you're absolutely right. Special teams assistant, come on. That's where retired NFL players that want to coach start out at. You're exactly right. When NFL players retire and they want to coach, some team makes them the special teams assistant so they can learn how to coach. Ron Zook has been to the coordinator level. Ron Zook has been in college. So now you're telling me he doesn't have any other opportunities out there other than to be a special teams assistant in Green Bay? The last I checked, that is not the bread and butter job of the NFL. Yeah. I think there was some behind-the-scenes talking going on that eventually you could step up and replace Dom Capers as defensive coordinator. Yeah. Now, when will that be? Will it be a year or 2 years? I don't know. We could see a promotion come out of this, like Ron Zook to the, secondary coach or the linebackers coach or assistant defensive coordinator. We could see that promotion coming. So, let's talk about this. How do you feel about Ron Zook being in that position to eventually, and let's go down that road. Let's say Ron Zook is the next successor to Dom Capers. What are your thoughts about the way that he would be a defensive coordinator here in Green Bay?
I think we're going to see similar defense to what Capers has been running, or been wanting to run, I guess I should say. And I don't know exactly how I feel about it. Like, I haven't seen enough of him as a defensive coordinator to actually give a ton of an opinion of this. He was special teams coach for the Steelers, 96-98. Defensive back coach for the Chiefs in 99. Head coach of Florida from 2002 to 2004. Throwing a stint as defense coordinator of the Saints. So I'm not sure exactly how I think about that. But another thing I do want to throw out there, the Packers did make a couple other moves at coaching staff, on the coaching staff too. They did also hire, I'm trying to find the name, internal mistake. Sam Gash, the former NFL fullback who spent 5 years on the Detroit Lions coaching staff. He had a 12-year NFL career, fullback with the Patriots, the Bills, and Baltimore, and he played in 2 Pro Bowls. And he's actually never, I think he was the first person ever voted into the Pro Bowl who never even touched the ball. And this would be something we can rant about at a later date. Winston Moss is now the linebacking coach for the Green Bay Packers. He's no longer just the inside linebacking coach. I guess they want to spread the mediocrity of his position out to the entire linebacking core, and he's also going to be the linebacker. We got about 90 seconds left.
Well, with that said, I thought it was another great rant today, bud. It's always good on Saturday. I mean, we talked about Peyton Manning's legacy. We talked about, does winning a Super Bowl make you a great quarterback? We talked a little bit about the Packers and Ron Zook. There's a lot that went on in 30 minutes. We jam-packed this 30 minutes. So I know we've got a special episode Tuesday, so I'm going to let you end the show filling the fans in what's going on next week. We've got 2 really good guest callers, and I'm going to try to get Al Cass's uncle on the show, too. We may very well have 3 guest callers next week, but fill the fans in with the 2 that we have solidified right now.
Well, Tuesday we have Alice Kramer coming back to talk NFL Hall of Fame and Jerry Kramer. I'm going to, hopefully we can get her to tell a couple of stories of, that, she's heard over the years, hanging out with her dad and other former Packers. And then we have Andrew Varocha from Wisconsin Sports Blog coming on Friday to talk Milwaukee Brewers baseball. So we got about 15 seconds left.
Well, with that said, everyone, enjoy your weekend. Stay warm. We will see you at the next red light. We will get back at you on Monday afternoon. Enjoy your weekend, folks.